When you have hair loss, it can be such a scary and deceivingly lonely place. But you know what? You're not alone. You are here with me. Welcome to the Alternative Hair Alchemist podcast. Hi, I'm Deborah Heim. I am a certified alternative hair specialist, a wig boutique owner, and wig wearer myself due to alopecia. And this is my Tell It Like It Is take on all things alternative hair. I also happen to be a certified confidence coach, so I'm going to be sprinkling in some mindset hacks for good measure. So take a deep breath, sit back and relax, and listen to my favorite ways and my best advice on how I help others and help myself to rock that alternative hair. We're going to drop that shame and stigma. What is that about anyway? Now, let's do this. Hey everybody, welcome to the Alternative Hair Alchemist podcast. This is Deborah Heim and I am your coach. The shop where I am working out of still at the current moment, it's probably going to be closing soon, and of course I'll be revealing more about that as we go along. But the shop is verybestlittlehairhouse.com. You can find me at deborahheim.com, and I will have links in the show notes. You know, I'm really not too hard to find. So Facebook, Instagram, also on Threads. Let me know if you listen to this podcast and what you think of it. And if you've noticed, I haven't been putting up new episodes regularly. It's because I'm kind of running out of ideas. But also coming up, I have decided to read the book I wrote, chapter by chapter, like a chapter a week will be posted. It's the same book that I have on Amazon.com, and it's got a lot of the basic information that I tell people when they come to the shop for a visit, because I do quite a bit of teaching. And I'm kind of putting it off because, as a lot of you probably are, I'm a perfectionist, and I know when I read that book out loud, I am going to wish I did things differently, wish I said things differently. But the beauty of reading it out loud is I can stick in the pieces that I forgot. I think in doing this podcast, I can't tell you, I do most of the revisions after I click send and it's up there. Then I think of a million things I should have said. But, you know, hey, you'll never get it perfect and you'll never get it done is my attitude about life. So today's episode is inspired by the client that just left the shop today. I think online shopping has just become so cheap and so accessible that people really don't mind going there as much as they did. But there are some people, myself included, and a lot of people, but maybe not in this area. If I was in a different area, I think I'd be busy all the time. But being in rural Pennsylvania, although it's close to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, if anybody wants to come out and hang out for a day, we can set up a VIP day, so hit me up for that. The way I have my shop set up, which is contrary to most wig shops, is I work by appointment only, and there's many reasons for this. The number one reason is privacy and dignity. One of the reasons I opened my shop way back, and I may have told this story before, but I had to go into a really well-lit shop in the center of the shop in order to try my 3 wig choices on, and I had to take my wig off in front of everybody. Now, of course, I know now that our perception, we always think everybody's always looking at us, and it's really never quite that important to everybody else. But still, you know, I just think it's nice to be able to go into a quiet environment where somebody is paying full attention to you only, answering questions, showing you all of the options, and that's exactly what I do at my shop. Unfortunately, most wig shops do not operate like I do. And I wanted to go over some of the biggest mistakes you can make in a wig shop and how not to do that. And I think there's 3 major ones that I'm going to talk about, but there's probably more than that. But anyway, these are like the biggest things that I've seen happen, because people will often come to me as a last resort because they will try every other options, because I'm always upfront about the price or the fact that I do have a fee for a consultation. And sometimes people think they'd rather go another route, and that's totally fine with me. In fact, I appreciate it when people get all the other places and other options out of the way first. That's because when you come to my shop, I am so good at what I do. Have the problem solved within the hour. You're going to look great, and people just, I make it look easy. So when I get that person looking great and they want to think about it, which I totally understand, I recommend that you take some time and think about your purchase. But anyway, like, they think that what the effect that they got in my shop is the same effect they're going to get elsewhere. And I can tell you, unless it's somebody that I helped set up their shop, it probably isn't. And that's the reason that you can make mistakes at most of the wig shops, and I'll tell you why. The first mistake is buying something without checking out all your options. Now, when you walk into a wig shop, most of them work like this. Oh, I want a topper. Okay, here you go. Here's your topper. So sometimes everybody will do all this research, and then they come in through the door with something they think is going to work best for them. When you buy a topper, you need to check the back out. That's one of the biggest mistakes, people buying too short and too small of toppers for their particular stage of hair loss. So when you go into a shop, get a feel for whether they know what they're doing. Because if you just buy something based on the only research that you've done, it may not be the right thing. Now, if that does happen, in the big picture, so what? Because once you try, at least you're taking action. And if it's something that doesn't work, well, then you know it and you can move on. Second big mistake is buying a wig that doesn't fit properly just because you like how it looks. Now, here is where I bring expertise to the table that other people may not have. It's because I know that every wig in every brand is going to fit differently. Some run bigger, some run smaller. So when you come through the door and say, hey, I want this style wig, and we try it on you and it doesn't work, I'm already going to know what's going to fit your head better and give you that same look. Now, most wig shops don't do this, and I'll tell you, most wig shops are run, and this is just capitalism. People want to make a profit, and I'll tell you, the best way to make profit is to buy low, buy your merchandise that's the cheapest, and sell it as high as you can. And this is one of my pet peeves for wig shop. I begrudge nobody making a good price for what they're selling if it's a fair exchange, if it's worth it. So around here especially, you are probably able to just find a wig that is, let's say, classic, aka old lady type styles. And I don't mean old lady as far as age, because let me tell you, I'm 61 and I have 80-year-olds that come to my shop, but they don't leave wearing these kind of styles of wigs that I see in the wig shops. Then they'll tend to mark that up because, yeah, you're going to pay a little bit of a convenience fee, because just by trying it on, you're going to get a better idea of how it looks on you. And when you get into choosing a wig and returning it, if you're lucky or able enough to do all of that, it gets into costing. So don't begrudge them the fact that it's going to be more than maybe what you researched online. You can ask them at that price. If you want to take some time to think about it, by all means. I hate that when anybody pressures you. But for the most part, when you walk into just an average wig store, they're going to have the cheaper stuff just because it costs less to have. Because especially, this is one of the reasons my shop has been slow. When I sell the wigs that retail for $750, I really cannot mark them up enough to make it worth my while to stock a whole bunch of them. Now, when you come to my shop, that is one advantage. I'm going to know what looks good on you, and I'm going to know what fits your head well. So usually I have quite a few already in stock that are going to look great. Most of the people leave wearing something from the shop because I choose my things intuitively. After 6-7 years of choosing from the picture, it's my superpower. Look at a wig on the model or the mannequin and know roughly how it's going to look on most people. I can tell if there's going to be extra poof at the top or if it's too thick on the side. So I do have a little bit of ability, and I'm able to intuitively order styles at better prices so that when you come through the door, it's kind of like a matchmaking service. Like, you tell me what you want, what your goals are. I know what's out there. I know relatively how it fits, and I match you up. And everybody leaves my shop looking fantastic. The third biggest mistake, before I run out of time here, is insisting on human hair when you really don't know much about caring for it or what the properties are, synthetic versus human. Human hair, on the whole, to me does not look as good as you think it should for the price. Now, do you want a human hair wig in your lifetime? Absolutely. If you can afford simply human hair and that's the way you want to go because you do like to spend time styling it and taking care of. But remember, when you get into human hair, you want to make sure it's ethically sourced. That tends to be a little bit higher of a price. If you want a good human hair wig that's going to be styled properly, you want a wig that doesn't have 24 sources of hair on the cap. Your lesser expensive ones tend to have that. But, the whole human hair thing, that is another episode in itself. And I need to get a hold of Natalie from Strands and Fireflies Alternative Hair Studio, because she is the human hair guru. And maybe I will interview her. I keep saying I will, and then life gets away, and I don't get around to it. I have one that was colored and styled by Natalie almost 3 years ago, and it looks just as good as the day that I took it out of the box. So she's really a magician with human hair. She's a wealth of knowledge, so you can look for her coming up soon. I'm also going to read chapters of my book, Too Much Hair. And that way I'll read a chapter a week, so that should get some episodes up with some regularity. You'll know what the episode is about ahead of time. So if you already have the book or you think the knowledge is too basic for you, just skip it. But that's what I have planned as far as the podcast coming up. So to sum it all up, the 3 biggest mistakes that I see made by going to a wig shop is, number 1, getting a topper when the better option for you would be a wig. And I explain a lot more in my chapter on topper versus wig in the book, so that will be coming up. But also, when you get a topper, check the back. Make sure that your hair is not too thin for the clips. I mean, there's alternate ways to hold your topper on, but just make sure the topper is the best option for you. Next up, a wig that doesn't fit or not knowing all of your options. And third, buying human hair just because you think it's going to look more natural. And it very well may be if it's a wrong synthetic. But don't purchase human hair without knowing how to take care of it. Happened to me. I spent $1,200, and this was like 10 years ago. And nobody told me. I thought you could just wash and blow dry your wigs just the same way you do with your own hair. And that's simply not the case. But as far as the alternative hair, I still do consultations for that. But I mainly concentrate in confidence and being happy with how you look. And again, you can find me at my website. Reach out to me via the socials. Thank you for listening. And until next time, peace, love, and alternative hair. If you enjoyed this episode, you might like working with me one-on-one even better. You can check out the options at deborahheim.com. You can find my shop at verybestlittlehairhouse.com. And don't forget my Wise Wig Advice and Support group, also on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. But until next time, peace, love, and alternative hair.